Hi, this is Marianne, and I'm going to show you how to record an entry in LibAnalytics. First, you open LibAnalytics and sign in. Then, if you're not on the screen of entering a record, you want to click on Add a Record. And the first thing you're going to enter is the question or issue. Now, I usually enter what the person's actual information need is. So if they come up and say, do you have any literature books or do you have any poetry books, and they really want a book of poetry by Adrienne Rich, I'll put they wanted a book of poetry by Adrienne Rich. And maybe they also want the criticism. Now you can use a complete sentence or you can just put some keywords in there. The important thing is to get the actual keywords in there. Now we have some predefined questions. So if your question fits in one of these predefined items, you can hit the little reset button over here and choose one of these. So what the person really wanted was where is the restroom? If it's stuck on this and you really want to enter the part about Adrienne Rich, you hit on the little reset button again, put your Adrienne Rich question back in there. The resolution or sources used, this would be something like I used the Gill catalog and Bloom's literature, and I also happen to help the person find out how to do interlibrary loan and get their PIN. So what you're entering here is the highest level of information need. I wouldn't necessarily create a whole nother question for interlibrary loan and PIN because it was related to solving this person's information need about poetry and criticism. The timestamp will automatically fill in right now. So only if you're doing something later, like oh yeah, I forgot to enter that thing yesterday. You can change the time with this. And the slider here, this is military time. So if it was 10 o'clock last night, you'd have to go, okay, 10, 11, 12, 22 o'clock, so you'd have to put it in like that. Entered by is me. It's the person that logged in by default. If for some reason you were recording a question for someone else, you can use this drop down box to change it. The library and staff affiliations pretty obvious, and you just use these drop down boxes to choose the rest of the answers to the questions. Now, if you have some of the frequently asked questions, we have how do you count recently enrolled, recently graduated students? It says record them as students. So the little question marks can help you there. So the resolution is whether or not the situation was resolved. It doesn't necessarily mean the answer to the question was yes or no. So if the question, for example, was do you have a coffee shop in the library, the answer is no, but you did answer the question. So the situation was resolved. If for some reason you're like, I don't know if any of the libraries have a coffee shop, maybe Newton does, I'll have to check, you can say no. If you need to refer them to another department outside the library, say you want them to go to the student center and ask if there's a coffee shop in the student center, then you would refer them. Incomplete would be something like when you're in a chat, the person just leaves before you finished anything, or the student says, oh, I got to go to class, I'll be back later. You can choose incomplete for that. Number of records. This is if you have 5 people in a row ask you how to work copier, you can go ahead and just put 5 records in, and it will enter the exact same thing 5 times. Usually you want to have that on 1, and be careful if you put 5 because it kind of sticks there. Let's go over here. The internal note field is not currently being used for anything. Collection development, this is to flag it. If somebody who's doing collection development might benefit from this question, for example, Adrienne Rich poetry, yes, we need more information about Adrienne Rich. The course, what was the class? The class the person was in was English. Now, a lot of times they don't tell you. If they don't tell you, just leave it blank. Complexity of reference question. This is sort of a judgment call. 1 is the easiest, just most basic thing. If I just looked up the poetry book and I said, here's the call number, it'd probably be a level 1. Since I'm showing them how to look for criticism, I would put intermediate. And if it's an in-depth ongoing research, where I'll call you back later, we'll, come back tomorrow and we'll talk about this some more, that would be a level 5. Collection development details. In this case, I'm at Alpharetta. Say we didn't have any Adrian Rich poetry criticism here at the library, and I might say, let's add some Adrian Rich criticism to the collection. Now, once I'm satisfied with everything that I've entered here, I can hit submit or submit and clear. If I hit submit and clear, I will start over with a new blank form. If I just hit submit, it will keep certain fields. Apparently I left something blank that's required. If I hit submit, it will keep certain fields. So you can see that it kept me, it kept the Alpharetta, it kept the public desk, the student, the reference question, etc. So the next question that I entered, I can just change these things. Now sometimes if you start a new question, so if I'm going to go back to room locations, it will reset a lot of these blanks because it's knowing that I need to start all over. But the submit can help you from having to constantly enter student, Alpharetta, uh, that sort of thing over and over again. Now, if you've made a mistake, or if you're curious to look at other people's or your own previous questions, you can go to the dashboard. And here I can see that I have this question here, and I realize, oh my goodness, it didn't take me 15 minutes. It really took me 30 minutes. You can go back and edit this question and resubmit it. So when I go back to the dashboard, the new information is entered. What it shows here is all of my latest questions. If you want to look at some other people's questions, a lot of times this can be quite informative for new people to learn some reference techniques and see what kinds of things other people are asking. You can look here and read what this person has entered. You can also do some data analysis if you want to play around with that. You can't really hurt anything. And that's how you do LibAnalytics.